On this episode, we talk with a researcher about the importance of sidewalks to blind senior citizens. Then we look at changes to an intersection in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Groundwork Providence promotes bicycling to work in Rhode Island's capital. The American Society of Civil Engineers celebrates its 150th anniversary in Washington. Tucson is experimenting with a new type of pedestrian signal. The Lifesavers Conference holds its 20th anniversary meeting in Orlando. Finally, we drop in on the 10th Congress for the New Urbanism in Miami Beach. Stay tuned. We're in Kalamazoo, Michigan, talking with Richard Long with Western Michigan University. What's your position at the university?
I'm an associate professor in the Department of Blindness and Low Vision Studies, and I train orientation and mobility specialists.
Just what is an orientation and mobility specialist?
An orientation and mobility specialist is an individual who teaches a person with blindness or low vision to travel independently, usually with the aid of a long cane, sometimes with a dog guide, but typically our students are involved in training long cane use so that people can move about their community safely and independently.
And a while ago, you worked on a study looking at senior citizens with low or no vision. What did you find out?
Well, I was interested in what I call the community movement patterns of blind and low vision people. In other words, how often do they get out and move about and go to the grocery store and the bank, and how often do they do those things by themselves? What levels of difficulty do they express about those tasks? So I interviewed 32 individuals with blindness, most of them older individuals, most of them having no usable vision, but some of them did have low vision. I asked them questions like how often in the last week have they been outside their house and yard by themselves? How often have they been outside their house and yard accompanied by others? What were the destinations that they traveled to? Did they travel for exercise? I related their reports about their travel frequency, their travel habits, to things like whether they had additional disabilities, how much vision loss they had, whether they had had orientation and mobility training, whether they had depression or not, and also to some environmental characteristics like whether they had sidewalks available in front of their house or not.
What was significant? What did you come up with?
It was a very interesting finding. One of the key findings was that the blind individuals traveled much less often by themselves than a similar group of individuals with typical sight. So blindness did result in limitations in independent mobility for my rather small sample. In addition, the one variable that seemed to be very powerfully related to the likelihood that people with blindness would travel independently was the presence of sidewalks in front of their house. The odds of one of those 32 individuals traveling independently in their neighborhood was about 6 times greater if they had sidewalks present in front of their house. So whether they had mobility training did not seem to make a difference. Even the amount of vision loss they experienced did not make a difference. But sidewalks, the presence of sidewalks, was a powerful predictor of their independence and travel.
And assuming the results can be duplicated in a larger study, what would be the policy implications of that?
Well, clearly sidewalks matter, and I would really encourage the pedestrian and bicycle community and others in the transportation community to replicate the study that I did, to extend the study that I did, to study the impact of sidewalks with other populations, for example, and to use that information as a tool to influence legislators and government officials of various types to build sidewalks. Sidewalks clearly make a difference, and I think make a very positive difference in the lives of both people with disabilities and those without disabilities. And I would encourage their construction anywhere we can.
We're in Cambridge, Massachusetts, talking with David Latzenheiser, who's chair of the Cambridge Pedestrian Advisory Committee. What does the committee do?
We advocate for pedestrians in Cambridge and anything we can do to make the city better for pedestrians, including physical construction, advocacy, legislative bills, and programs, activities.
What's this intersection behind us?
This is the intersection of River Street and Western Avenue, one of the largest concentrations of pedestrians, cyclists, and non-motorist users across the street running along the Charles River.
And this crosswalk right behind us, someone's erased it. What happened?
This was removed about 2 weeks ago as part of a project to, quote, improve traffic flow and improve pedestrian safety.
And normally I think of Cambridge as being pretty good for pedestrians. What's going on here?
Well, the city itself is pretty good, but this particular facility is owned by a regional district that is more concerned with traffic flow, I think, than pedestrians. They have finally put in pedestrian signal walk heads, and improved accessible curb ramps, which were not there before. So that is an improvement, but the net effect is not much of an improvement.
Is this the only intersection where this is happening?
No, there's one down the street that the similar project to remove a crosswalk and improve the pedestrian safety. This project was done as part of a developer mitigation for a nearby construction project, nearby office development.
Did anyone consult with the Pedestrian Advisory Committee? You know, you're supposed to advise. Did anyone talk to you about this?
We were aware that something was happening. We had to go through several channels through the state legislature finally to find out what exactly was going to happen at this intersection. Once we did find out, we were very disappointed, and then we went forward to try to change this. At the moment, this will stand, and we hope to get the crosswalk restored and with some more political wrangling to hopefully do this fairly soon.
We're in Rhode Island talking with Danny Simons with Groundwork Providence. What is Groundwork Providence?
Groundwork Providence is an environmental nonprofit working to improve the urban environment through partnerships with businesses, organizations, and residents of Providence.
So what do you do for them?
Right now I'm running a program to promote bicycle commuting to downtown Providence as a way to improve the environment, reduce traffic congestion, and to improve personal health and wellness.
What do you do to get people to bike to work?
Well, that's a good question. One of the biggest issues that comes up in conversations with people in Providence about why they don't bike to work already is the concern that it's not safe enough for them. And so a big part of our program and what we're going to be trying to do is to make the roads safer for bicyclists, both by educating cyclists and motorists, and also by taking steps to make downtown Providence a more bicycle-friendly place.
Do you do any special events to help bring attention to bicycling?
We are going to kick off our program with Bike to Work Day, which hasn't happened since the mid-'80s in Providence. Bike to Work Day is part of National Bike Month. The League of American Bicyclists has declared May National Bike Month, and it's been a program that they've had going on forever and ever and ever. And we are going to have a few events in downtown Providence to try to draw in potential cyclists and to celebrate the fact that there are people biking to work already, and to try to create a sense that there's a critical mass of people who are doing this, who are really interested in it, and that it can be a safe and fun way to get to work. And so as part of that, we're going to be having a bicycle breakfast for people who ride into work, and we're going to have the mayor speak, who's kind of a big local celebrity, and some people from the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, and a person who is the head of the large housing development nonprofit in Providence, who's actually a bicycle commuter and has been for a number of years now. And then at lunchtime, we're going to be having a bicycle fair And we're going to have like an outdoor cafe, and we're going to have just an opportunity for people to come and ask questions about bicycle commuting. We're going to have demonstrations and vendors and local bicycle advocacy and recreation groups there. Just a day of fun for bicyclists in Providence.
How would a cyclist know what was the best route to take?
That's a good question. The city of Providence is in the process of developing a network of recommended routes for cyclists that will eventually be signed and striped. This is other cities like Madison, Wisconsin, and Denver, Colorado, and even Cambridge, Massachusetts have already done things like this to try to increase awareness of bicyclists on the road and also to show people good routes to get to work. And in Providence, it's really exciting because a lot of our great bike trails that we have in the state kind of come to a dead end before getting to downtown. And so these paths will allow all of these different trails to connect up through the city and let riders get from one trail to another as they go through Providence, but it'll also allow commuters to get around Providence in a safer way.
We're in Washington, D.C., talking with Tom Jackson, who's the new president of the American Society of Civil Engineers. What is civil engineering, and what does a civil engineer do?
Civil engineering is the engineering profession that provides and designs and builds the quality of life. And what is the quality of life? It's almost everything you see around you, the roads, the bridges, the clean water, getting rid of the wastewater, the airports, aviation, and on and on and on, highways, bridges. We provide the quality of life for mankind.
And this week you're having a big conference to celebrate the 150th anniversary of ASCE. How has civil engineering changed over the last 150 years?
Well, from 150 years ago, civil engineering has changed considerably. The tools that are available to us as civil engineers now, the materials for design and construction, has so substantially changed that our profession has been looking at changing educational levels and other things in civil engineering in order to stay up with the changes in technology and designs.
Now, what sort of services is the society able to provide its members?
Well, the society acts as a home, if you will, for civil engineers, and it provides technical material. It develops and research material for civil engineers to keep them on the cutting edge. It also provides a professional home, if you will, for civil engineering, and provides a place for civil engineers to meet and to share stories and to share experiences, both good and bad.
A lot of cities nowadays are looking at trying to make themselves more walkable, more pedestrian friendly. What would the role of the civil engineer be in producing a walkable place?
Well, civil engineers will be the planners and the designers of a more walkable city. Certainly, you've probably seen some starts where we are providing pedestrian walkways. We're designing and building bikeways through the cities. We're trying to grade separate or elevate walkways over busy roadways or thoroughfares or beneath busy roadways and thoroughfares to make walking around a city safer today than it has been in the past. With increased traffic load, this is a necessity. And so we as the civil engineers are trying to provide safety for the pedestrians in our cities.
We're at Broadway and Park in Tucson talking with Tom Fisher, who's the bike and pedestrian coordinator for the city. What's different about this traffic signal behind us?
Well, this signal is different. It's called a wigwag signal. It's based on the red flashers that you see at a railroad crossing and also red flashers that you see on the back of a school bus. And common sense, you hope that people have common sense to know what the flashing red means. It operates much differently from others in that it flashes yellow as the pedestrian presses the button, goes solid yellow, solid red. At that time, the pedestrian crosses, and then it flashes red for vehicles to proceed after they've crossed. But most significantly is that the crossing resembles a regular traffic signal, and what we've discovered and what we've heard throughout the community is that motorists only recognize traffic signals. They certainly don't stop very often for yellow flashers, which are just a single light, or any of our other type of crossings. This one's worked extremely well. We've had several accidents before the signal was put in. A number of high school kids crossed the street in the morning to get to school. I think 4 have been hit, broken arms, broken legs. The school district was getting very upset with us, saying, there's no protection here for our students. So we decided to put a signal in this location, which was jointly funded by the City of Tucson and the school district.
What made you decide on this type of signal rather than your standard traffic signal? What goes into that consideration?
Well, we did get a lot of feedback from the community, and users out there, pedestrians, motorists. We talked to our police department about what type of signal that they could enforce. That's a very important part of this. And from all that feedback, we came up with this signal. Again, it relates to what motorists are used to and what do they currently obey. And it all comes down to something that resembles a regular traffic device.
Why would you not want to put a regular traffic device at Park Street here?
Well, it doesn't meet the warrant requirements, and you have to do a lot of study in order to put a full signal. We don't want to encourage any cross traffic for motorists either. We're just trying to get pedestrians and cyclists across the street safely, so we had no need for a full-blown traffic signal. And again, you have to meet the specific warrant requirements for that.
Do you anticipate putting a lot of these around the city? You have other intersections that are similar to this?
Right. What we're doing, we came up with a signal device about 2 years ago that just doesn't work too well. We keep striving to find something better it's better than the yellow flasher. We do have several yellow flashers throughout the city that are adjacent to schools and on other arterials. Those don't work well either. So yeah, we plan to use this signal device. We're going to do some study on this. We've hired a consultant to do a before and after study and compare it to other signals throughout the country. If over time it looks like the signal is successful, we're going to be replacing the other ones throughout the community, and I mean every single one.
We're in Orlando, Florida, talking with Alan Korn, who's Director of Public Policy for the National Safe Kids campaign. What is Safe Kids?
Well, John, National Safe Kids is an organization based in Washington, D.C. It's an organization that's solely dedicated to preventing unintentional injury to children, whether or not it's car crashes, fire and burns, poisoning, pedestrian injuries, bicycle safety, bike helmets. And we have 300 state and local offices around the country that kind of do our bidding. We kind of coordinate them from the national office, but get resources out to them, and they do the bike rodeos and the pedestrian safety checks in their community and the child safety seat checks, just trying to help kids stay safe from unintentional injury.
What's going on here in Florida that brought you down here?
Well, this is actually the biggest transportation safety conference in the country. It's called Lifesavers. It happens every year. In fact, this is the 20th anniversary of Lifesavers, and it's about 1,600 advocates for safety from the federal government, from insurance companies, from the advocate community, from manufacturers, car seats, you name it, all that type of perspective come down together to talk about safety, whether it be how to protect kids in cars, how to protect kids as pedestrians on roads, how to protect people on bikes and motorcycles, and we get together, exchange ideas, have some sessions, and try to, lower the numbers on deaths and injuries.
How has Lifesavers changed over the 20 years since the first session?
Well, I think it's really been a good opportunity for everybody who has the same perspective when it comes to safety, meaning they want to protect kids, they want to protect adults on the roads, but different perspectives on how to get it done. So we learn from each other and then go implement, and we've seen over the 20 years seatbelt use rates go way up, a bicycle helmet use go way up, child safety seat misuse go down, use go up. So it's kind of like the energy starts here at this conference. Everyone gets reinvigorated, everyone gets new information, and then they go out their communities, whether or not it's Washington, D.C., or Bethesda, Maryland, where I'm from, or Bemidji, Minnesota, or Salt Lake City, Utah. And we just take our good ideas and go out and implement them.
How important is it that you have people from all these different fields in one spot?
It's absolutely critical, because none of us have a monopoly on what's right. I kind of bring the child safety perspective to the table on how we might protect kids, but there'll be someone here that from an adult safety perspective, and they'll bring their perspective to the table. Then also, we spend a lot of time in the backseat of cars trying to put car seats into cars, and we've got the car seat manufacturers here in Orlando to tell us, hey, how can we change our product a little bit to make it easier for parents to get it in? So it's that kind of exchange here that moves the progress forward in the right direction to help protect people from injury. The different perspectives is absolutely critical.
We're in Miami Beach talking with Stephanie Bothwell, who's an urban and landscape design consultant. What does an urban and landscape design consultant do?
My interest is taking the kit of parts of design principles and putting them together in a way to create great new communities.
We're here at the 10th Congress for the New Urbanism. What is the Congress?
The Congress is 10 years old, and I've actually been privileged to be at all 10 Congresses. In the beginning, we were about 125 people gathered in Alexandria, Virginia, mostly architects, a few designers, a few planners, a few landscape designers. And it was the group intended to meet only once or twice, but in fact, decided after about the second meeting that we should try again the third and the fourth. And each year it has grown a little bit, and this year there's about 1,000 people in attendance. And it's grown from, as I mentioned, designers, people interested in physical design in the beginning, to include political activists, policy writers, people from just about every walk of life. And also with them has come a series of perspectives that have grown the issues within the Congress to quite a rich dialogue. So in the beginning we were talking about exactly how do you put a great new urbanist community together, and then grew the next year to including environment as a major issue, an environmental task force, to social equity issues of how we should balance growth across a region from the inner city all the way to sort of the agrarian edge. And this year, I'd say the hot new topic is about pedestrianism and obesity and public health issues. Americans are walking and are less physically active. Over 60% of them are now overweight or obese. And this year we have a major sponsor, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, whose major mission is public health and health issues and keeping Americans healthy. And they've stepped forward and said, well, how can we encourage more pedestrian-friendly design in our communities to get people out and walking? All it takes is a few extra minutes a day of stair walking to burn enough calories each year to keep off that 1.6 pounds that almost all of us gain every year because we've stopped being pedestrians or active, physically active.
So you've covered a broad range of issues in the 10 Congresses, but what is new urbanism?
What is new urbanism? Well, there are those that say new urbanism is really good old-fashioned urbanism. If you look at towns across this country, from the New England town common across the American West, where small towns cropped up, we understood as communities what were the kit of parts that needed to be brought together out of necessity and desire and had to be put all in one place to create a community that would serve the needs and desires and the dreams of the people in those communities. So you had housing, you had commercial, you had retail, all of these things together within a walking distance or within carriage distance or horse drawn carriage distances. And now we have the automobile to deal with, and we pretty much created communities like that all right up to about World War II, and then for a complex set of reasons, including post-World War II policies that encouraged development outside of the city, we began to pull out of the city, develop highway systems, we developed the suburbs, and we began to sprawl. So once again, how can you put work proximate to school so the kids can walk to school again? How can you get a variety of types of housing in the same community? And how can you make it less automobile dependent? And so rediscovering those principles of how we always used to know how to build from the large cities all the way out to rural towns.
Does it take a professional planner to apply the principles of new urbanism?
It never hurts to have someone involved that's done a little bit of this before, but my personal advice is that communities must take charge of their own communities and develop a vision and help to implement it, no matter how much professional assistance you get. In the end, it's very important that your community take charge and pay attention to the details and really put into effect those things that have been designed and planned that you really want to have happen so they don't fall through the cracks. One of the things I'm very fond of pointing out is almost all the great small towns and main streets that we love so much and love to visit on our Sundays and Saturdays when we go to drive into the countryside were all pretty much created by individuals and communities who just paid attention. They saw the way the last town was built. They said, we like it that way. That looks very nice. Let's try that here with some variation and some acknowledgement of that particular environment. But people are very, very capable of reading the principles of good urbanism. At the Congress for the New Urbanism site, you can read the charter and the principles. They make good sense. They're very common sense. And take hold of it and begin to make change in your community.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.